In the bustling, dimly lit corridors of Gyrus Station, the air was thick with the hum of alien dialects and the clatter of mechanical limbs. The station, a nexus for the less savory transactions of the galaxy, hosted an event that drew a diverse crowd, slavers and traders, all looking for their next lucrative deal. Among them, an alien girl named Lira stood on the auction block, her bright blue skin shimmering under the harsh lights, her eyes wide with subdued fear. A man in the crowd, Captain Elias Reed, observed quietly from the back. His rugged features were marked by years of interstellar travel, his eyes sharp and calculating. Elias was not there to buy. He was there to meet a contact, but the sight of Lira stirred something within him. He could not ignore the injustice unfolding before his eyes. Lot 17, a rare specimen from the Talion sector, the auctioneer announced, his voice booming over the speakers, his pointed teeth gleaming with greed. Start the bidding at 50,000 credits. The crowd erupted in bids, numbers flying fast and high. Elias pushed through the throng, his gaze fixed on Lira. He caught snippets of conversation, traders bragging about potential uses for such a unique being. She'd fetch a high price in the mines of Dravis. One sneered, his eyes raking over Lira dismissively. Or as a collector's piece, another chimed in, laughter rippling through the group. Elias stepped forward, his jaw set. 100,000 credits, he called out, his voice carrying over the crowd, silencing many. The auctioneer's eyes sparkled with avarice. We have 100,000. Do I hear more? As the auctioneer sought higher bids, Elias moved closer to the stage. His eyes met Lira's, and he nodded slightly, a silent promise of his intentions. Why do you care, human? A gruff voice beside Elias questioned. A burly trader with scars crisscrossing his face eyed him suspiciously. She doesn't deserve this fate, Elias replied, his tone even but firm. The trader snorted. You're soft, human. This is business. It's slavery, Elias countered, not backing down. And it's wrong. 200,000, another voice shouted, breaking their confrontation. The crowd turned to see a notorious slaver, known for his brutal treatment of acquisitions. Elias's heart sank, but he wasn't ready to give up. 250,000, he called out, his resolve steeling. The auctioneer smirked. The human has a heart. 250 going once, twice. 300,000, the slaver countered, his eyes gleaming maliciously. Elias took a deep breath. His resources were not infinite, but his determination was. For 100,000, he said quietly, his voice resolute. A murmur swept through the crowd. The slaver hesitated, his brow furrowing in irritation, and finally, he backed down with a huff. Sold to the human for 400,000 credits, the auctioneer declared, his gavel slamming down. As the crowd dispersed, Elias approached the stage. Lira looked at him, her expression wary yet hopeful. I'm Captain Elias Reed, he introduced himself as he handled the formalities to release her. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to help you. Why? Lira's voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Because everyone deserves freedom, Elias said, leading her away from the auction block and into a new chapter of her life, away from the shadows of Gyrus Station. As the Nomad's compass slipped through the stars, the hum of its engines filled the silence that often hung between Elias and his new, unexpected companion. Lira had taken to a quiet corner of the ship, her gaze frequently fixed on the vast expanse of space beyond the viewing port. Elias, sitting across from her in the small mess hall, watched her thoughtfully. He knew gaining her trust would not be an overnight journey. Lira, would you like to learn some of the ship's operations? It might help you feel more at home here, he suggested gently. She turned to him, her eyes narrowing slightly, assessing his sincerity. Why would you teach me? I'm just a passenger, aren't I? You're my guest, Elias corrected with a soft smile. And the compass can be as much your home as it is mine. Lira considered his words, then nodded slightly. Okay, I'd like that. Over the next few days, Elias introduced Lira to the crew of the compass. First, she met Kale, the ship's engineer, a burly man with a booming laugh and hands permanently stained with engine grease. Welcome aboard, Lira. Kale greeted her warmly, shaking her hand with enthusiasm that nearly pulled her off her feet. Elias tells me you've got a sharp mind. Ever fixed a quantum stabilizer before? Lira blinked, taken aback. I can't say that I have. No worries. I'll teach you. It'll be fun, or at least, as fun as engine maintenance can get, Kale chuckled, leading her towards the engine room. Under Kale's guidance, Lira learned to navigate the labyrinth of the ship's heart. Pipes, wires, and metal fused into one giant puzzle that Kale and Lira pieced together with cooperative gusto. Elias watched them work from the doorway, a grin spreading across his face. Later, when Lira took a break, he joined her with 2 cups of steaming brew. You're picking things up quickly, Elias commented as he handed her a cup. Lira accepted it, her fingers brushing against his briefly. Kale is a good teacher, and I like learning. That's good to hear, Elias replied, leaning against the wall. How are you feeling about everything? It's a lot, Lira admitted, staring into her cup. This ship, space, it's all new to me. But it feels right, being here with you all. Elias nodded. I'm glad to hear that. You know, you're not just a guest here. You can be part of this crew, part of this family if you want. Lira met his gaze, a flicker of emotion passing through her eyes. I'd like that, she said softly. Good, Elias smiled, then stood, stretching his arms. Come on, let's go to the bridge. I'll show you how to plot a course. On the bridge, Elias introduced Lira to Nav, the navigator. Nav was a slender man with a keen eye and a quicker smile. He greeted Lira with a nod and a clipboard full of star charts. Ever charted the stars, Lira? Nav asked, his voice calm and inviting. No, but I'm eager to learn, Lira responded. Her curiosity piqued as she looked over the charts. Well, you're in good hands, Nav assured her. Elias here is one of the best pilots I know, but don't tell him I said that. Elias laughed. Your secret's safe with me. Together, they spent the afternoon discussing routes, stars, and the physics of space travel. Lira absorbed the information like a sponge, her questions thoughtful and her understanding quickening with each explanation. As the day turned to evening, the compass continued its journey through the stars, its crew richer by one more member. Lira, once isolated by betrayal and fear, found herself a place among those who had shown her kindness without expectation. And as the light from distant stars flickered in her wide, wondrous eyes, a new chapter of her life began to unfold among the stars. Elias watched as Lira slowly transformed from a wary guest to an engaged member of the Nomad's compass. She was now frequently found assisting in the engine room or navigating the maps on the bridge with Nav. Her confidence was growing, and her smiles came more readily, a sign that she was finally starting to feel a part of their close-knit crew. One afternoon, as the ship cruised through a particularly serene stretch of space, Elias invited Lira to join him on a small maintenance task outside the ship. Ever done a spacewalk? He asked, clipping his tool belt around his waist. Lira looked apprehensive but intrigued. No, I've never been outside a ship in space before. It's safe, Elias assured her, handing her a suit. I'll be with you every step of the way. It's quite the view, nothing like it. As they suited up, Elias explained the procedure, his voice calm and encouraging through the comms in their helmets. Once they stepped into the void, Lira gasped, her breath visible in her helmet. It's beautiful, she murmured, looking out at the endless expanse of stars against the dark canvas of space. It is, Elias agreed. All right, let's get to work. We need to replace the faulty relay over there. He pointed towards a part of the ship's hull. Together, they maneuvered towards the site. Elias demonstrated how to remove the old component and then handed the new one to Lira. Your turn, he said. Lira took the component, her movements cautious but precise. Like this? She asked as she aligned it with the connection points. Exactly like that, Elias confirmed with a nod. Well done. They continued working in comfortable silence, the only sounds the soft hum of their tools and the occasional crackle of static in their comms. When the task was completed, Elias and Lira paused to admire the stars. I never imagined I'd be doing something like this, Lira said. Thank you, Elias. It's my pleasure, Elias replied. Glad I could be the one to show you the ropes. Back inside, after decompressing, they were greeted by Kale and Nav, who were eager to hear about Lyra's first spacewalk. How'd it go out there? Kale asked, clapping Elias on the back. She's a natural, Elias said, grinning at Lira. Took to it like a star sailor. That's fantastic. Nav chimed in. You'll be joining us on more EVA missions then? Lira laughed, a sound that was becoming more familiar to the crew's ears. Maybe, if Elias doesn't get tired of answering my questions. Never, Elias responded warmly. Ask away. Their conversation drifted to other topics as they gathered around the mess hall for dinner. The camaraderie was palpable, each member sharing stories and jokes. Lira listened intently, occasionally contributing a thought or a laugh, visibly more relaxed and content than Elias had ever seen her. After dinner, as the crew dispersed to their evening tasks or leisure, Elias pulled Lira aside. I've noticed how much you've grown since you came aboard. If you want, there's a place for you here, as a permanent member of the crew. Lira looked at him, surprise and gratitude mingling in her expression. Really? You mean that? I do, Elias confirmed. You've become invaluable to us, Lira. We'd be lucky to keep you. Tears welled up in Lyra's eyes, but she smiled through them. I would love that, Elias. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. That night, as Lira retired to her quarters, the stars no longer seemed distant and cold. They were a part of her new home, a home that promised new beginnings and a family that extended beyond blood ties, bound together by kindness and mutual respect in the vast, open cosmos. Elias watched Lira as she stood beside Nav at the bridge's navigation panel, her eyes scanning the star charts with an eager intensity. Her transformation aboard the Nomad's compass had been profound, and now she was about to embark on a new mission, one that held personal stakes. Lira, how do you feel about setting a course for the rumored colony of your people? Elias asked, crossing the room to join them at the console. Lira turned to him, her eyes alight with a mix of excitement and nervousness. I think I'm ready to see them, to learn where I come from. But I'm also scared. What if they don't accept me? They'd be fools not to, Elias assured her, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. Nav chimed in, we've plotted a tentative route based on the data you provided. It's not much to go on, but I've got a good feeling about this one. Let's get moving then, Elias said decisively. He glanced at Lira, smiling. Ready to jump into the unknown? Lira nodded, a determined look settling over her features. Let's do it. The journey was not without its challenges. The sector was uncharted, filled with dense asteroid fields and unpredictable cosmic storms. Elias and Lira spent long hours together on the bridge, maneuvering through hazards and mapping safe passages. During one intense navigation session, a particularly violent storm shook the ship, throwing Lira against her console. Elias immediately moved to her side. Are you all right? Lira nodded, rubbing her arm. Yes, just startled. Elias's hand lingered on her back, ensuring she was truly unharmed. These storms are fierce, but you're handling them like a pro. Lira gave a small, grateful smile. Thanks to you and Nav. As they continued, the camaraderie and shared purpose forged a deeper bond between Elias and Lira. They learned to anticipate each other's moves and work seamlessly as a team. In the quiet moments, they shared stories of their pasts, Elias speaking of Earth and its vast oceans, Lira of the fragmented memories of her early childhood before she was taken. When they finally neared the coordinates of the rumored colony, tension mounted on the bridge. Lira stood beside Elias, staring out at the view screen, which displayed the lush, verdant planet below. There it is, Nav announced. No signs of advanced technology from orbit. If your people are down there, they've kept a low profile. Elias turned to Lira. How do you want to handle this? Lira took a deep breath, her resolve firm. I want to go down there, meet them face to face. I need to know if I belong with them, or here. Then we'll go together, Elias said, his voice steady. Whatever happens, I've got your back. Together with a small team, they prepared the shuttle for descent. Kale, ever the protective engineer, checked and double-checked their equipment. Make sure you all stay on comms, Kale instructed gruffly, handing Lira a communicator. "And don't do anything I wouldn't do." Lira laughed, a sound that eased the tension a little. "I'll keep that in mind." The descent was smooth, and as the shuttle landed on the lush surface of the planet, Lira and Elias shared an apprehensive glance. Stepping out into the alien world, they were met with a silence that spoke volumes. Hand in hand, they approached the nearest settlement, hidden beneath the canopy of towering trees. What awaited them was unknown, but together they stepped forward into the new world, ready to face whatever, or whoever, awaited them. The shuttle's ramp lowered, touching the soft, verdant ground of the alien planet. Lira took her first tentative steps outside, her eyes scanning the lush landscape that could hold the keys to her past. Elias, carrying a pack of supplies, followed closely behind, his gaze alert to any movement. The settlement was quiet, almost eerily so, as they approached. Small, bioluminescent plants lined the path, casting an ethereal glow over the area. "Do you think they know we're here?" Lira whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustle of leaves. "I'm sure they do," Elias replied, scanning the treeline. "They're probably just being cautious. Stay close." As they neared the center of the village, figures began to emerge from the shadows of the structures, which were built high into the trees, woven from the natural materials of the forest. The villagers, all with skin tones similar to Lira's, watched them with wide, cautious eyes. A tall, dignified man stepped forward, his gaze intense as he studied Lira. "Why have you come here?" he asked, his voice resonant and commanding. Lira took a deep breath, her nerves settling as she met his gaze. "My name is Lira. I was taken from my family when I was very young. I've come to find out if I belong here with you." The man's expression softened slightly. "I am Torin, the leader here. You speak our language?" "Not much," Lira admitted. "I've been away too long." Torin nodded thoughtfully, then turned his attention to Elias. "And you, human, why are you here?" "I'm here to support Lira," Elias stated plainly. "She is part of my crew, my friend." Torin regarded them both for a long moment, then gestured for them to follow him. "Come, we have much to discuss." They were led to a large communal building, where they were offered seats on low, hand-carved benches. Torin sat across from them, his demeanor serious. "You have returned at a crucial time," Torin began, addressing Lira. "Our people are divided. Some wish to reach out to other worlds, others fear what might lie beyond our forests. Your arrival could sway many." Lira listened, her heart heavy. "I didn't come to cause trouble. I just want to learn who I am." "And you shall," Torin assured her. "But know that your presence here is not a simple matter." As the discussion unfolded, Elias watched Lira closely, offering silent support. Torin shared stories of their people's past, of great migrations and struggles, painting a picture of a community that, while isolated, was deeply connected to their planet. After the meeting, Torin invited Elias and Lira to stay for a meal. The food was simple but flavorful, and the other villagers, while still reserved, began to show curiosity about their visitors. Lira tried to engage with them, asking about their customs and their lives. Gradually, the villagers warmed to her, sharing their own stories and listening intently to hers. Later, as they walked back to the shuttle, Lira was quiet, lost in thought. Elias broke the silence. "What's on your mind?" "It's a lot to take in," Lira admitted. "This could be my home, Elias. These could be my people. But I feel torn. This place is part of me, but so is the Nomad's compass. So are you and the crew." Elias nodded, understanding her conflict. "No matter what you decide, I'll support you. Whether you stay here or come back with us, you're not alone." Lira smiled, grateful for his unwavering friendship. "Thank you, Elias. I think I need some time to decide where I belong." As they reached the shuttle, Elias put a comforting arm around her shoulders. "Take all the time you need, Lira. We're here for you." Together, they looked back at the village, a place of potential beginnings and profound revelations. The night was quiet, and the stars shone brightly above, a reminder of the vast universe that Lira had come to know as a second home. Under the soft glow of Ivoria's 3 moons, Elias and Lira found themselves seated on the edge of a reflective, glass-like lake just outside the village. The night was quiet, save for the gentle lapping of water against the shore and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Elias remarked, his eyes reflecting the serene light of the moons. "It's peaceful," Lira agreed, her voice soft. She pulled her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. "Elias, I've been thinking a lot about what Torrin said, about belonging and about how my coming here could change things for them." Elias turned to look at her, his expression thoughtful. "And what have you decided?" Lira sighed, her gaze drifting across the lake. "I'm not sure yet. Part of me feels a connection to this place, to these people. But another part," she paused, looking back at Elias, "another part feels like I belong on the Nomad's compass, with you and the crew. You've become my family, Elias." Elias nodded slowly. "Lira, wherever you feel your heart lies, that's where you should be. If it's here, I'll miss you, but I'll understand. If it's with us, know that the crew and I would be overjoyed." Lira bit her lip, then in a burst of courage, she continued, "Elias, these past weeks with you, learning about the ship, about space, about caring and working together, it's changed me. I've found strength I didn't know I had. And I've found," she hesitated, then met his eyes squarely, "I've found love." Elias's breath caught in his throat. "Lira, She reached out, placing her hand over his. "I know we come from different worlds, literally, but you saved me, not just from that auction, but from a life of feeling lost. You've shown me kindness, patience, and yes, love in your actions." Elias turned his hand under hers, intertwining their fingers. "Lira, I feel the same. I didn't want to influence your decision about staying here or coming back with us by saying it sooner, but being with you, sharing in your journey, it's been more meaningful than I could have imagined." The admission hung between them, simple and profound. Elias gently pulled Lira closer, and she rested her head against his shoulder. "Then maybe my decision isn't as difficult as I thought," Lira whispered. They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their thoughts and the feelings that the serene Ivorian night evoked. Finally, Elias spoke. "Let's go back tomorrow. Tell the villagers your decision. Whatever it is, I'm with you." Lira nodded against his shoulder. "I think I already know my choice, Elias." The rest of the night passed in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when two people understand each other completely. The Ivorian moons continued their ascent, casting a luminous trail over the water, mirroring the newfound clarity in Lira's heart. The following morning, they walked back to the village together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever reactions her decision might provoke. But Lira was no longer afraid. With Elias by her side, she felt ready to embrace her future, wherever it might lead. The morning sun cast a golden hue over the village as Elias and Lira approached the gathering of Ivorian villagers. The air was thick with anticipation, both from the villagers curious about Lira's decision and from Lira herself, ready to reveal her heartfelt choice. Torrin met them at the center of the village, his expression neutral yet expectant. The other villagers formed a loose circle around them, their murmurs quieting as Torrin raised his hand for silence. "Lira, have you reached a decision?" Torrin asked, his voice carrying clearly in the morning air. Lira nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yes, I have." "And?" Torrin prompted, a slight softening in his eyes. Lira glanced at Elias, who gave her an encouraging smile. Turning back to Torrin and the rest, she said, "This place, these people, you are part of me and always will be. But I've realized that my place is with Elias and the crew of the Nomad's Compass. They are my family now. I hope to carry a piece of my heritage with me and perhaps return one day." A murmur rippled through the crowd, some nods of understanding mingling with disappointed glances. Torrin, however, nodded slowly. "We always hope for our lost ones to return and stay, but the heart must find its own path. We respect your choice, Lira." Lira's relief was palpable, and she reached out to briefly clasp Torrin's hand in thanks. Elias stepped forward, his respect for the villagers evident in his demeanor. "Thank you for welcoming us and for understanding her choice. Lira speaks often of her people, Know that she carries you with her in all she does. Torin nodded, his gaze shifting to Elias. Take good care of her, Captain. I will, Elias promised, his tone solemn. The villagers began to disperse, some approaching to wish Lira well, others retreating to their daily tasks. Torin lingered, his gaze lingering thoughtfully on Elias and Lira. If you ever wish to learn more of your heritage, Lira, our archives are open to you, Torin offered. Perhaps one day you might share what you learn out there with us. I would like that, Lira responded warmly. Thank you, Torin. As Elias and Lira prepared to leave, they felt a bittersweet tug at their hearts. The visit had been revealing, a mixture of joy and connection and the melancholy of departure. Back aboard the Nomad's compass, the crew gathered in the common area, eager to welcome Lira back. Kale clapped Elias on the back, a wide grin on his face. So, she's sticking with us, huh? Elias nodded, his eyes twinkling with happiness. Yes, she's one of us now, more than ever. Nav raised his cup in a toast. To Lira, our stellar navigator in training. The crew cheered, their voices filling the room with genuine affection and joy. Lira looked around at her friends, no, her family, and felt a profound sense of belonging. Thank you, everyone. I'm excited for all the adventures we still have ahead of us. As the laughter and chatter continued, Elias pulled Lira aside. How are you feeling? He asked, his voice low. Happy, Lira said simply, her smile bright. Really, truly happy. That's all I could ever ask for, Elias said, leaning in to kiss her forehead gently. That night, as the Nomad's compass resumed its journey through the stars, Lira and Elias stood together at the viewport, watching the cosmos unfold before them. The stars seemed to shine brighter than ever, each one a symbol of the infinite possibilities that awaited them. Together, they looked forward to exploring each new galaxy, secure in the knowledge that their shared journey was just beginning. The Nomad's compass hummed through the vacuum of space, its course set for distant stars yet uncharted. In the ship's quiet bridge, Elias and Lira stood side by side, their eyes fixed on the vast canvas of the cosmos that stretched endlessly before them. Think of all the places we've yet to see, Elias mused, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Lira nodded, her hand finding Elias's as she gazed out at the swirling galaxies. And we'll explore them together. Yes, together, Elias agreed, squeezing her hand gently. The intercom crackled to life, interrupting their moment. Captain, you might want to see this. Nav's voice came through, a mix of excitement and urgency evident. Elias tapped the comms button. What's up, Nav? There's a nebula forming not far from our current trajectory. The sensors are picking up some unusual patterns. It might be worth a detour. Elias exchanged a look with Lira, an unspoken agreement passing between them. Plot a course, Nav. Let's take a closer look. As the ship altered its course, the excitement among the crew was palpable. Even Kale emerged from the engine room, wiping his hands on a rack. Heard we're chasing nebulas now. Anything to keep the engines running hot. Huh? Just another day on the compass, Elias joked back. The ship soon approached the nebula, its colors a vibrant tapestry of gas and dust that danced in the void. Lira and Elias watched in awe from the bridge, their previous plans momentarily forgotten in the face of such natural beauty. It's beautiful, Lira whispered, her voice full of wonder. It is, Elias agreed. And to think, there are still countless wonders like this waiting for us. As they observed, Nav began to collect data. This could give us some valuable insights into stellar formation, he noted, his fingers flying over the controls. Lira's interest peaked, and she moved closer to watch the readings come in. Could we document this? It might be something to share with Torin and my people. Show them what's out there. Good idea, Elias responded, proud of her initiative. Nav, let's make sure we get everything we can from this. The Nomad's compass spent several hours charting the nebula, the crew working in harmony to ensure no detail was missed. Later, gathered in the mess hall, they discussed their findings and planned their next steps. We've got enough data to keep us busy for weeks, Nev said with a satisfied grin. And plenty of new material for your reports back to Ivoria, Kale added, nodding at Lira. Lira smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I can't wait to share this. Maybe it'll inspire them like it inspires me. Elias watched her, his heart full. Seeing her so integrated into the crew, so vital to their mission, reaffirmed his feelings and the decision they had made together. This is just the beginning, he said to the group. There's a whole universe out there, and we've got the best team to explore it. Cheers went around, the crew's morale boosted by the success of their day and the promise of many more to come. Later, as the ship resumed its course, Lira and Elias found themselves back at the viewport, looking out at the stars. They stood in silence, each lost in thought but comforted by the other's presence. Lira leaned against Elias, her head resting on his shoulder. "Thank you for everything." Elias wrapped an arm around her. "No, thank you for bringing new light into my life and into the lives of everyone on this ship." The Nomad's compass continued its journey through the stars, a speck of determined life amidst the infinite. Together, Elias and Lira faced the future, not just as captain and crew member, but as partners bound by the stars and by a shared destiny that was only just beginning to unfold.